G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, I'm excited because we're going to have a lot of fun. What we're going to be checking out, we've got some international whoops right here. We've got the US version of the US65. We've got the UK version right here, the UK65. And what these are, we're going to put them head to head. These are some little bind and fly sort of whoop, not tiny whoops, I'm going to say whoop class. They're brushless, got things like smart audio, some really cool gear in here for pretty cheap, and I've got to say, they make a pretty good first-time drone. So if you're just getting into the hobby, you want something that's fun to fly around, you want something that's safe, still with plenty of power, but some features like smart audio, which makes setting these things up very easy, bind straight to your radio. They're a great choice. So what we're going to do, something a little bit different. There is going to be a bonus at the end of this video. I'm really excited about that because I haven't seen too many videos like this, and you're just going to have to wait and see to understand what I'm talking about. I haven't seen too many videos like this. You're just going to have to wait and see to the end of the video because we're going to go through our normal stuff at the moment. We'll stick it on the bench, quickly go through some of the text and the specs, get that stuff out of the way, and then the good part, we're going to go fly it around and have a bit of fun and find out why this is such a cool little drone that is feature packed. And it does build on the UR65 as well. I'll leave a little link up there to go watch that. So this is sort of like the next iteration that's come after that, but very cool stuff. Enough rambling, let's stick it on the bench, get started, show some flight footage, and then make sure you stick around at the end because that's where I've got something that's a little bit of fun, a bit creative, and I can't wait to show you guys and see how this strange experiment goes. Anyway, let's do it on the bench in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, here they are on the bench. I'm probably going to put the UK one to the side. We're just going to talk about the US one version, but they're both linked down below, and about time, I've got to say, that they put some fancy color schemes on here. I think you'll agree these things look so much better than the normal stock configurations that they come with. You know, they're usually just all green or all white. I really like they're doing some funky designs. I think that just makes it just that little bit more special. Now what this is, it's a little bind and fly drone, so you hook it up straight to your radio. There's a couple of different versions, whether you get the Free Sky version, the Fly Sky version. I'll link them all down below anyway. I'm using the Fly Sky version. Trevor uses the Free Sky version, and this is what you sort of get in the kit. With mine, it came with 3 little batteries. They're 250 milliamp hours, so and I should say it's got the good connector on the end as well, so you can get more juice out of it, which I think is essential, especially for a craft like this one. And that's when we talk about the motors, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And you get some little props, a prop tool, a few rubber bands, a few extra screws, that sort of stuff as well. Now what I'd want to do, let's stick it on the scales, and I'll tell you how much it weighs. It's coming in, take your bets, at about 21, 22 grams right there, so a very light little quad. And these things are great. If you're a new pilot, you want to get into the hobby, you want something to fly around, it's not going to damage anything, the batteries are cheap, the drone itself is cheap. Something like this is a great, safe, stable flyer, so you're going to have an awesome time with this. And some of the features I really like, this one even has smart audio, so we'll get to that when I'm talking a little bit more about the camera. But what that means is you can choose your channel straight from your radio. Now if we go through the thing, of course it's just a plastic frame, and that's probably one of my least. I would love this in an aluminium version, maybe something like the Snapper 7 with the internals of this would be absolutely awesome. We've got some little tri-blade props right here, and then underneath, one of the stars of the show, so we've got some tiny 603 motors that are 19,000 kV, so that is definitely a step up from the UR65, which I believed were maybe 16, 17 from memory. I'll have to go check that out. But the KV of this one is a little bit higher, so it should have a little bit more pep. But I do need to say, I think that's going to be affecting the battery a little bit as well, because that seems to be a limitation for me, is the battery flight time. So when you fly these things around, especially on the brushless side of things, there is some hard limitations, and your battery is going to be the thing that suffers a little bit. Now what I am going to do, let's take the top off here, very easy to work on, and because everything's so simple, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. There's no building, no soldering at all to get these things working, just a few screws, then you can take the top off. And then you've got this awesome little board right here. So open it up, you can see this is where sort of the magic is. I'm really impressed with what this board has to offer. So it's an F3 board with Betaflight OSD. That's more than enough, especially for something like of this sort of class. And it's got some 6 amp ESCs built into that as well. And then towards the outside, we spoke about the motors and them being brushless, but also if you need to work on it, it's very easy to plug these things in and out. So there is no soldering. If you need to replace a motor or anything like that, it's very easy to switch these bad boys out. And because they're brushless as well, it means you can set things up like turtle mode. So if this thing flips upside down, you can flick a switch on your radio, it'll pop it right way up, and then you're ready to take off again. Now for me, this is probably my favorite part. So our little camera right here, and I feel like the actual FPV feed does have some limitations. It handles the light situations very well in normal flying, but if you're flying in somewhere very dark, it's a little bit washed out for me, a little bit grainy, but you'll see that in the DVR we'll show in a minute. But for me, I can't believe this thing has smart audio. So you can set your channels by pressing a little button on the top, or what you're meant to do is when this thing is hooked up into your radio, you just go into the menu, and it is so easy using the smart OSD. You just pick your channel straight looking through your goggles. It makes sort of changing your channels and finding out exactly what one you're on very, very easy. And if you're flying around with friends and you want to sort of navigate and talk which channel is which, smart audio is an absolute must. So if you're going to take this to a little Whoop meetup or something like that, having smart audio is absolutely essential. And I can't believe for the price, they're actually putting them in these tiny little craft. So I'm very, very impressed with those sort of features. Oh, and the last one too, I should also mention we do have a built-in receiver. So in here, I've got the FlySky version, but there's also the FreeSky version as well that Trevor's been flying around. The little bind buttons here, and it is, where is it? I thought it was towards the front. Oh, there it is. There's a little bind button, and you just press that in and bind it up to your radio. It takes about 2 minutes. So from opening this thing up to actually flying, it takes no time at all. You'll be ready to go in about 5 minutes. Just charge your batteries up, and then Bob's your uncle. So that's it on the bench. That's the text and the specs all out of the way. Now the fun stuff. I want to show you just how fun this craft can be. We're going to take it over to Trevor's new underground pit track. He's done some cool upgrades, and then after that we'll jump back to the studio, and that's where I want to talk about something special that's going to happen at the end of this video. So let's cut to it now. Go have some fun at Trevor's pit track in 3, 2, 1. Radio out here. Radio out here in the field in Grumpy Trev's basement pit track. Super excited. The old man's here himself. He's going to fly around the US version. I'm going to fly around the UK65 version. We'll put it through its paces, show you guys some DVR, because of course these things, they don't carry a GoPro, and let you know what is this like for in this Whoop class, a brushless little micro. Is it a good choice? How does it fly? And show you just how much fun these things can be, because you do not need absolute buckets of power outdoors or anything like that to have a good time with FPV. So let's get to it. Enough rambling. Go have some fun and rip this thing around in the indoor pit. All right, let's do it. Okie dokie, here we go. On board, there's Trevor's big mug in the way, and I'm going to show you a couple of different bits of footage, but just look how stable this thing is. I mean, you don't need to be going fast or have a huge place to fly this thing around. Flying through Trevor's 3D printer, then he went over there. He's having to go on his pinball machine, so I thought I'd just disrupt him, trying to stop him beating his high score. And he did let out a few swear words, so it's probably good that this thing isn't recording some audio. But you can see in the indoor light conditions, it's definitely not the worst, but it's also not the best as well. So you're getting a little bit of washout when it's really bright. But if you were to flying around, and I'd say like in a normal house, not a pit track or anything like that, with normal lighting, not big floodlights everywhere, I don't think you'd have so much of an issue. Now, what I am going to do, I'm going to cut to a bit of some race footage in the underground track when we're going a little bit faster, because this thing does have plenty of power. You can see it's sort of picking up a little bit of speed here, but let's jump to that right now. And I think you'll agree this is much faster. So believe it or not, if you're new to my channel or you haven't seen Trevor's channel before, this is what he has underneath his house. So whenever it's raining or we just feel like getting in a bit of sneaky FPV action with a few little batteries, we can fly anytime. So very, very lucky to have such a cool permanent track, except when he leaves bits like that. So he's getting a bit sneaky, trying to stop me beat him in the race, I think. But the first thing I want to mention about this, you can see it is a very nice, quick, little agile, maneuverable craft. Absolutely very, very easy to pilot. Great to rip around if you've got a little indoor track. But for me, the part that lets this down, and it was the same on the UR65, was the camera. And I know, look, for the price, you can't complain too much because it does handle stuff fine in normal lighting conditions. But when you're flying around here and it's very, very dark, I did find it difficult to see, and especially some of those far turns where there's not very much lighting whatsoever. It's very grainy, and I think it's a little bit washed out as well. The amount of times I crashed in this tunnel was ridiculous. So for me, that's probably the one part I would like to change. I would like to see a camera that could handle lighting a little bit better and not get blown out so much with some really bright objects or really dark places. Because if you look around here, it is washed out. Just here, you can't really see very much detail at all. Even though it was very dark, I should say, in its defense as well. But if you're a beginner, you want a cool quad that can do turtle mode, it can go smart audio, which I think is absolutely crazy. It's got plenty of power. This is an awesome little indoor fly. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. Makes it very easy to rip around and have a good time with your friends, but also be warned, with that power comes more responsibility. No, what's that line? Great power comes great responsibility, but in this case, great power comes a lack of battery time. So your flight times are going to be a little bit shorter. Expect between 2 and 3 minutes. But if you can handle that, if you're flying around in normal lighting conditions and you've got a few batteries up your sleeve, I don't think that's going to bother you too much. And these things are great. I mean, for the price and offering things like smart audio, brushless little Whoop, you want to get some, you maybe want to try it FPV, or you want to get some with your mates. It's a fun, stable, fast little fly with things like smart audio. I think these things are great for a hobby and really help people get into FPV and just have a lot of fun. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the UK and the US65s, and overall for the price, I think they are a great whip. Look, they're not perfect because they are just cheap little models, but cheap is okay when you want people to have a good time. They're great to fly around indoors. They've got plenty of power, and the smart audio, I'm blown away how cheap you can get some of those features in such a little drone. If you had said to me, Stuart, you can have a brushless whip with smart audio, I wouldn't have, that runs on 1S, I wouldn't have believed them, and now it looks like our hobby just keeps progressing. So very, very cool stuff. If you want to jump into the hobby, try something out. They're very easy to fly. You saw how stable they were. Something like this is an awesome option. I'm going to link these down below, but now the exciting part that I want, I should also say, subscribe for more FPV related content, blah, 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 happy flying. But now the exciting part. So this is something I wanted to do for a little while. This is like a little test. And what you're going to need to do, I'm going to flash a card on the screen. You're going to need to sync this video up, and there's going to be a little timing card that should pop up as well with Grumpy Trevor's video. So we're going to be doing a bit of a race between the, I'm going to be representing the UK, oh sorry, yeah I am. I'm going to be representing the UK, so let's pick, I'm going to be racing for, say, Andy RC, because he's a pretty big reviewer from Europe, so I'm going to be flying around with the European version. That's who I'm representing, so good luck, Andy RC. Let's hope we beat Trevor's best time. And Trevor, well, let's pick a famous USA reviewer, someone who likes the micros. Shout out to Nick Burns, because he does some really, really cool stuff with micros as well. But Trevor is going to be flying his version, because he's got a FreeSky version of the US65. So what you need to do, you need to pause this video, open up another tab on your computer, put Grumpy Trev's video side by side with my video, have the two screens showing at the same time. We're going to have a time trial race, and we had a bit of a bet. Who's going to get the best lap times? We're going to see who can get round the track quicker and who's going to take home the trophy with us two Australian gooses flying around, with me with the UK and Trev with the USA. So do that. Go open up Grumpy Trev's video. A little card should pop up here. You can go check that out. And then let's get to it. Let's have some fun and watch these two videos side by side and find out who's going to win in the time trial race. So let's do it.